Hi, welcome to the channel. And today we're going to talk about how do you know when something is meant for you or if it's meant for somebody else. And there's a really easy way. The more you step into awareness, the more you step into consciousness when creating your reality, the more you're going to get better at it. And it's just going to become habit, it's going to just take a few weeks to give yourself that space to become familiar with these techniques. So I myself was not really good at this for many years. I didn't really I would take things on that were not meant for me, jobs, people, experiences. They were meant for somebody else, and I misunderstood it, and I would take it as though it belonged to me. And it always backfired. I would always end up getting hurt, or I would hurt other people, or I would experience loss or regret or something like that, So it's very easy, and I want to give credit to Vadim Zealand in reality transurfing. So he uses the analogy of a piece of clothing, an item, when you walk into a store. And I'll just summarize it. I'm not doing the book justice. You have to read the book. It's the kind of book where you can't explain the book. You have to read the book. But it's a kind of experience where you walk into a store and you try on a coat or a dress or a pair of shoes or whatever, you're trying on something, and you put it on and it's not the right fit. And then your mind steps in and your mind says, hang on a second, it's the right price, we've come a long way, we need this for this function or whatever. And your mind will try to justify you to acquire that purchase. But when you put it on, you knew it wasn't for you. It didn't feel right. You didn't feel good on it. And it didn't it didn't have that vibe. And then you buy it. Or the converse happens. You go in and you find that item that's just meant for you. You put it on and it's just, wow, it blows you away. You feel like $1 million in this thing. And it doesn't matter what everybody else in the store says, you and that item know that you belong together. Okay? Nobody can convince you in that second. No one can convince you. Then the mind steps in again, but hang on a second, it's too pricey, it's out of our range, etc., etc. So that's the other thing, you're going to get that tussle between the mind, which feels and knows. The mind doesn't think or rationalize. The heart. The heart feels and knows, and then the mind thinks and rationalizes, and justifies. And it has will, So you want to have the two marry. You want to have the union between the two, and that's when you're on a winning streak. So that's always the goal you're trying to get to in reality creation. You're trying to get to the goal where you're going to have the two working together, So I was trying to explain to my son, my adult son, what does it mean to turn your heart on, and it's something that I never really understood well. And I used this analogy to explain to him that's what it means. That's how you know when your heart is talking to you. When you go in for a job and you don't get that feeling and you're trying to justify why you need to stay in that job or apply for the job or move somewhere else. When something is for you, you will not have any need for justification because it will just feel right. Now, if you've messed up the job or you've messed up your relationship with your family and your friends, etc., that's a different scenario. That could be for other reasons that has nothing to do with whether it belongs to you or not. That could still belong to you. But that's a different argument about how that went wrong. That could be for different reasons. Limiting beliefs, group energies, balancing forces, etc., etc. We'll talk more about balancing forces going forward. It's very critical to understand that. So that could have fallen apart for different reasons. That doesn't mean it's not meant for you. Maybe it's not meant for you, but I can't say. All I know is when it started and when you acquired that thing, that's how you know when you have that feeling. You don't have to worry, you don't have to juggle, you don't have to justify it in your head, you don't have to convince yourself and do all these tricks with pendulums and with crystals and write a letter and burn it and all of that stuff and wait for signs to come through astrology, etc. No, you don't need any of those things. You don't need to, you have it inside of you. So think about that analogy. You've been to stores before, you've had that feeling so many times. You've had to, quite sadly, put something back on the rack where you just knew it was for you. Oh, and by the way, just in that scenario, what Vadim goes on to explain is the more you give and to yourself, and in that moment, the more you respond, despite what the rationale says, despite your circumstances around money, the more you give into that feeling, no matter what, the more you will attract wave of good fortune coming towards you. You know, the more you will, it will seek you out. So it's like two things lighting up in the sky and recognizing each other. So you want to search for that feeling more and more and more. Okay. I hope this analogy helps, because it really helped my son, because I couldn't explain to him what I meant, because, you know, and when I used that analogy, it clicked for him. He was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I've had so many experiences when I would go to a store and I just know, you know, and you get that uncomfortable feeling when it's not yours. You know, you get that feeling like, hang on a second, and that's because it's meant for somebody else. It's not meant for you. So you need to put that person, that company, that money, you need to put it back, because that's meant, that opportunity is meant for somebody else. You need to go for your door and your goal. You need to go for your thing that's unique to you and meant for you. It's not meant for anybody else. That's why competition in reality creation doesn't exist. It only exists if you buy into that notion. So I'm not worried if somebody else is doing the same job like me or doing what I do, because they have their own thing that's unique for them and I have my thing. So we don't compare when it comes to this kind of thing. You just focus on you. You bring the focus back on you. You put back what does not belong to you, and you take what's yours. You don't ask humbly. You don't go like a beggar. When you see what's yours, you take it. You claim it. Okay? It's really that simple. Okay, so all the best, and I hope this helped, and thank you for your support. Please help me like, subscribe and share, and please help me to grow on YouTube as well. My Facebook following is amazing. Thank you so much. I really value it. Love you guys. Bye.